What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss what's going on with our country today, the fourth stimulus check update, and the next two stimulus and infrastructure packages that are on the block and currently being negotiated. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates. I will be keeping you up to date on all of this and all the different stimulus provisions and items that are becoming available from the third stimulus check package, including state stimulus checks, county stimulus checks, mortgage assistance, rental assistance, property tax assistance, and utility assistance that is all becoming available now and will be in the next several weeks from a provision from the third stimulus check package, where states, cities, and counties are getting $350 billion and are distributing portions of it to their residents, like the $600 California stimulus check that is going out for round 2 now, that is going out up to 25 million people in California. Up to 2/3 will be getting the second round of the stimulus check, up to incomes of $75,000. And if you have children, you will receive an additional $500 for that California stimulus check for a total of $1,100. So yeah, we cover all the different stimulus packages and programs, a lot of which the average everyday person doesn't know about unless they watch this show. So if you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new updates. And remember these times, new videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, if you can, hit the like button for us. It really helps out our channel. The Consumer Price Index, or prices on consumer goods, jumped by 5% in May alone, the fastest pace since the summer of 2008, which is when we were recovering from the last economic recovery. And it's a similar situation to 2008 and 2009 when we were coming out of that recession, is that, yes, as you come out of a recession, you tend to see a temporary spike in inflation. Of course, everybody has their own idea why inflation's happening, but this is a semi-normal thing that happens when you're coming out of a recession, although we're doing it very slowly based on the April and May jobs report, which were both 75% and 50% less jobs than we were supposed to create. We were supposed to create over 1 million jobs in April and over 1 million jobs in May, and we only created 266,000 in April and 500, and I think it was 50,000 in May. So, yeah, significantly less jobs being created per month than was expected. And the retail sales report has been worse than expected as well. So we're very, very, very slowly coming out of this recession. In 2008 and 2009, it took 4 years. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says it took 5 years to come out of the recession and get back to normal levels of unemployment and regular economic indicators. So it's likely, even if the virus is gone tomorrow, it's going to be a long procession to get out of this recession. And this is why the Democrats keep saying that they need more stimulus checks and more stimulus provisions, because even when the virus is gone, the economic recovery is going to take a while. However, with an economic recovery comes inflation, and we are starting to deal with that right now. Consumer prices for May accelerated at their fastest pace in nearly 13 years as inflation pressures continue to build in the economy, the Labor Department reported today. The Consumer Price Index, which represents a basket including food, energy, groceries, housing costs, and sales across a spectrum of goods, rose 5% from a year earlier. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones had been expecting a gain of 4.7%. The reading represented the biggest CPI gain since 2008, which was 5.3%. Used car and truck prices, there is a car shortage right now as well nationwide, rose by 7.3% on the month and 29.7% for the past 12 months, largely because of the car shortage that is going on right now. The energy index was pretty much flat with a rise of 0.4%. Gasoline is up 56.2% over the past year, part of an overall 28.5% increase in energy during this period. Food prices have remained relatively tame, up 2.2% over the 12-month period. Now, one thing to note, just to be fair for everybody that's kind of thinking about all the reasons going on behind this, if we go back a year to last May or last June, that was right after the shutdown happened. And when the shutdown happened, gas prices, for example, plummeted to lows of like, I think it was like over a 10-year low because of supply and demand. I mean, I remember seeing footage of New York City, Times Square, with not a single car moving through Times Square. So gas plummeted. I remember at one point the price of oil got down to $0 a barrel. The problem is if you had to buy the oil, you had to store it on huge container ships, and it was it's a whole big mess. So you couldn't really just speculate on oil. But it was an all-time low, and of course it shot back up relatively quickly. But if we're comparing prices to last year's low, which would be like April, May, June, right during the shutdown or right after the shutdown. Prices for a lot of things tanked, like gasoline is the perfect example because nobody was leaving their house. There was shutdowns across the entire United States, and the demand for gasoline literally went down by like 90%. So the price thereby accordingly went down. Supply and demand is pretty much always at play when it comes to the pricing for almost anything in the United States. The S&P 500 stock index hit a new all-time high today, despite this inflation surge that we are seeing right now of 5% for the month of May. Typically, when inflation goes up, the stock market tends to get a little bit scared and it starts to go down, at least temporarily. But this is not what we're seeing. In my opinion, I feel like most stock investors or even people with 401ks, people with money in pensions that are in stocks, the average person actually owns a lot more stock than they used to a few days ago because of 401ks, company retirement, pensions, and things like that. The average stock investor or person who has any stocks at all is really thinking about this. The stock market generally looks forward. Okay, so looking forward, we're coming out of the recession, we're coming out of the depression. It might take a while, but it's sure going to be a lot better than it was during the April shutdown when the entire country shut down for like the first time ever. So if you're looking forward, stocks are probably just going to continue to rise. Of course, it'll have its ups and downs over the short term like they always do. But if we're looking forward, we're coming out of the pandemic, albeit slowly or moderately slowly, however slowly it'll be better than when the country shut down. Now, this new inflation is causing a bit of a political battle here, especially when it comes to talks over more stimulus packages, the next infrastructure, which package which will create millions of jobs, and how to proceed, how much to spend, and if spending will cause more inflation or not. The European Central Bank, which presides over all of Europe, is expected to keep stimulus flowing despite inflation concerns. And this mimics what the U.S. Federal Reserve said, that they're going to continue the stimulus in the bond buying arena. They're going to continue that on for many, many more months as the economy is still fragile, and withdrawing the stimulus money that they pump into the economy through bond buying could potentially crash the market. And again, it's a very fragile economy that needs to go forward. And this includes more stimulus packages, more stimulus checks, as well as the next infrastructure package, which is part one and part two, the next stimulus package and the next infrastructure package. Now, President Biden has gone to Europe for the G7 convention with the seven nations that are in there, including Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. And while there's two new bipartisan groups that are figuring out how to pass these next two packages. And GOP or Republican senators say that a bipartisan group has an infrastructure deal that could be passed. Republican senators who are negotiating within a bipartisan group of 10 senators say they have reached a tentative deal on the size of an infrastructure package and how to pay for it. The emerging deal would spend only a fraction of the $4.1 trillion investment President Biden has called for and would not raise taxes, which could make it a tough sell within the broader Senate Democratic caucus. Members of the bipartisan group cautioned today that the tentative deal still needs to be presented to the Senate Republican Conference and the White House to see if there's a broader buy-in. Quote, "We have a tentative agreement on the pay-fors, how to pay for this, Yes, but that's among the 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans. It has not been taken to our respective caucuses or the White House, so we're in the middle of the process. We're not at the end of the process and we're not at the beginning, but we're in the middle of the process, said Senator Mitt Romney, a member of the bipartisan group. Now, remember, when they say $4.1 trillion, that's really the two separate packages. The next stimulus package, known as the American Families Plan, which is expected to be around $2 trillion, and the next infrastructure package, which started off at around $2 trillion and is likely going to be now probably closer to $1 trillion, unless they combine them and pass them through the reconciliation process right now, of which right now, in fact, there's kind of some rumors, and it's not really a rumor. It's more of like a, I can't even say it's really a secret because, well, it's public knowledge right now, and we're talking about it right now. Senator Bernie Sanders said yesterday, I believe it was, we showed it on the show, that they are working behind the scenes now on the reconciliation process to combine both these packages, pass them together as one package along with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and to pass them together without any Republican support. So right now we have two different groups, this group of 10 senators and this other group called the Problem Solvers Caucus group, which you probably know of. In fact, in the past, they had, for the second stimulus check package before it finally got passed, they initially had a proposal that had not one, but two stimulus checks in there. It was a $1,200 stimulus check to be passed immediately, and then another one that would have happened if economic conditions required in March of this year, 2021. That would have happened, so we would have gotten two stimulus checks. Of course, we know that their version of the bill didn't end up getting passed. Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell both kind of shrugged it off, but they were influential in finally getting the second stimulus check package passed. Ultimately, that particular bill with both their two stimulus checks, the first one immediately and the other one what they call an automatic stabilizer, where basically if economic conditions require in the future, I think it was like 4 or 5 months in the future at that point, then another stimulus check would automatically trigger. That's why they call it automatic triggers, and would have been sent out. Now, we didn't end up getting that particular bill done, but we did end up getting two more stimulus checks. The second stimulus check that was $600 and the third stimulus check that was $1,400. We kind of missed out on one extra one in there. If you remember when the second stimulus check was passed, first of all, just a few days before that, there was no stimulus check at all. And I remember announcing to you guys, yeah, well, they've announced the package and there's no stimulus check in there. Yeah, I remember that very well because I wasn't very happy about it, and I wasn't very happy to have to tell you guys about it. However, history worked in our favor because the outcry and the pouring for it of everybody, your support, the average American person, as well as Congress said, oh, no, no, we have to include a second stimulus check in this package. We cannot pass this package without a second stimulus check. And that is exactly what happened. They end up taking the money away from states and cities. I think it was about $160 billion, which equated to a $600 stimulus check. That's how that number came about. States and cities got nothing for that second stimulus package, and instead they gave it to us in the form of a $600 stimulus check and a $600 stimulus check to children. However, then President Trump, who was president at the time, said, I'm not going to sign this bill. This bill is, this stimulus check should be way more. It should be $2,000. And I remember seeing the comments, like as soon as it came out from you guys, and I said, what are you guys talking about? He's going to sign that bill. It had already passed the House and the Senate and was sitting on his desk. And then, yeah, you guys were right. You guys found out about the information before me, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. First of all, he should sign that bill because it took us months to get that bill and to get support from both the Senate and the House, and he should sign that bill. And eventually he did sign that bill, but his support for a $2,000 stimulus check led to the Cash Act, which was for a $1,400 stimulus check on President Trump, former President Trump's behalf. He wanted the checks to be $2,000. Nancy Pelosi from the House said, all right, we'll do it. They wrote a bill the next day, voted on it, and passed it in the House. And they had Republican support as well. And then it went to the Senate, and Mitch McConnell did what Mitch McConnell does best. He said, I don't agree with this, even though it was coming from a Republican president. and Mitch McConnell said no and didn't even let it go to a vote. So yeah, ultimately that probably ended up costing Mitch McConnell the Senate, because just days later they had the Georgia Senate runoff races, and the Democrats won both of those seats, and Mitch McConnell lost his Senate Majority Leader position, and Republicans lost the Senate, and then a few weeks later lost the presidency as well. So, but we did probably miss out on an extra stimulus check there, because if Mitch McConnell would have just let it go to a vote, he could have voted no himself, but we probably had enough Republican senators to pass it. That would have been 3 stimulus checks underneath former President Trump. And then we know Biden would have come in, and we know Biden wouldn't have not wanted to pass. Biden's not going to let President Trump pass 3 stimulus checks, and he's going to pass none. Okay, so we probably missed out on a full stimulus check there. But now Senator Bernie Sanders and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are both co-signers of a bill, or I should say a letter to President Biden for a $2,000 monthly recurring stimulus check payment. Both Senator Bernie Sanders and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are both in favor of this and want it in Biden's infrastructure package. Now, both Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer are working on this behind the scenes to combine these bills in one if they need to pass it through the reconciliation process. And both of them are the co-signers of the $2,000 monthly stimulus check bill that has been introduced into the Senate by Senator Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki also recently said that President Biden is open to a 4th stimulus check, and that Congress can include it in this next package. So if you kind of add everything up, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Bernie Sanders, and over 100 different Democratic lawmakers are all for at least a single stimulus check, a 4th stimulus check in this next package. And this whole scenario is eerily similar to the 2nd stimulus check package, how we went a little bit of time, we went a couple months there, and the support continued to grow and grow and grow for another stimulus check. And ultimately, at the end of the negotiation phase, they were like, we have to add a stimulus check in here. The economy needs it. And whether or not the virus is still going here, the economy is going to need it. As we said, as we see, history shows us, this economic recovery is likely going to take years. And the economic reports, the jobs report and the retail sales report that have just come out the last 2 months, are showing exactly that the economy is barely creeping forward, and is likely going to be a long haul, several years, until we get back to normal. And stimulus money right now, economists say, will actually pay for itself. So for example, a $1,400 stimulus check costs about $400 billion, okay? By the way, there is $2 trillion sitting there from the $6 trillion of stimulus packages that have been passed by former President Trump and President Biden. There's $2 trillion of that money that has not been spent yet, and they can use that for anything. Republicans want to use part of that money for the next infrastructure package. Democrats want to use part of that money for another stimulus check and not even need to print any more money, or not even need to, well, they would need to pass it because they'd have to redirect it and pass it. But they could pass several more stimulus checks without spending any new money. There's $2 trillion available, and the $1,400 stimulus checks cost about $400 billion. So think about that. They could have multiple stimulus checks of $1,400 without even spending any new money, just by taking the old money. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. I'll keep you up to date on everything going on in Washington, D.C., all the negotiations, and all these other stimulus packages and provisions that are going on right now, like state stimulus checks, county stimulus checks, and I'll link you to my most recent video that I did on that here in a moment. But if you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember, new videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's also a share button down below, so you can share this video with your friends and family on Facebook or through message or email or anything like that. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is my most recent video about states, cities, and counties that are passing stimulus checks and stimulus money through different programs that you could qualify for. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.